This meeting is called to order in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act. This meeting was included in a list of meeting dates sent to the Home News Tribune, the Star Ledger, and the Highland Park Planet on January 3rd, 2018, and was posted on the bulletin board of Borough Hall, 221 South Fifth Avenue on January 3rd, 2018, and has remained continuously posted as required by law. Fire exits are to my left and to my right. If you need assistive listening devices, they are available, and if you come up to talk, please speak into the microphones. Mrs. Bickard, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Brill-Mittler.
Here.
Councilman Fine.
Here.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin.
Here.
Councilman George.
Here.
Councilman Hirsch.
Here.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan.
Here.
Councilwoman Welkowitz.
Here.
Borough Attorney.
Here.
Borough Administrator.
Here.
Okay. Before we go on to our business for this evening, we're all still reeling from the incident that occurred in Parkland, Florida last week. And I'd like to take a moment of silence in memory and honor of the children who lost their lives and the protectors that lost theirs as well. Thank you. Do you have that proclamation for me? Okay. As of this today, we are designating the March Youth Art Month. As you can see, the arts are very important to us throughout town. We're delighted to be able to stress the importance of the arts and also our children's participation in them. Okay, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular and conference meetings held December 5th, 2017 and December 19th, 2017 as distributed?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's move on to our council reports, and I'd like to start down on my left with Councilwoman Foster Dublin.
Mayor, I'm going to yield my council report time to our chief based on the situation that we've had in town. Maybe he can speak a little bit more about what's, where we are and everything else like that.
Okay, thank you. Chief, would you like to give us an update on the recent occurrences in town? The cars, yeah, burglaries.
Chief, could you use the microphone, please? Okay.
Good evening. In February, we had a rash of burglaries. I believe we had 7 for the month. For January. We had 7 for the month, which is quite a bit for us. It's not uncommon. I have months where we've had none and months where we've had as many as 10. Many times when you have one burglary, you get a rash of burglaries. You get 3 and 4 in a day or two period. I understand some of our neighboring communities also experiencing this. They are under investigation. There are some commonalities among them. They're being looked at by our detectives, and hopefully we'll be able to come up with something. But again, this is not uncommon. This month, so far in February, we've had 1. Recently, I guess last weekend, we had a spat of incidents with motor vehicles. Let me go back to the burglaries. They're not concentrated in any one section of town, so we put out a mixer to the entire town. We hope that people, if they see something suspicious, they call, they don't wait. We need your help, we need your eyes. We also are looking at, we've had some interest in perhaps a neighborhood watch program. We're certainly willing to explore that. I've asked our youth officer, community policing officer, to put out some information on it, what it would entail. So if anyone is interested in that, you can call either Lieutenant Canicello or Sergeant Joe Cabello, and they could take your name and try to get through that. So that would be helpful also. Going back to the car burglaries, open cars, there was about 18 incidents in one night. So we had a group of around, I think it was 7 people, young adults. We do have some video evidence. We have some persons of interest which we are speaking to. So hopefully we can wrap that up. So what they did was they went around town and they went into open vehicles and took some items, cell phones people left in there, change, things of that nature. They also let air out of some tires and they punctured some tires that appeared to be a sharp ice type of object. But again, we were able to obtain some video from some residences that have cameras, and we appreciate all that help we get, and we do have some persons of interest, and we hope to resolve that. So that's pretty much where we're at.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief. I think they're going to ruin our record of being the number 3 town in the state. Yeah, we work hard at keeping that record, but thank you so much for everyone that put their lives on the line daily to keep us all safe.
Thank you. Councilwoman, do you want to update us on the teen center? Anything going on there?
Oh, yes. Well, as everyone is aware, today was a really warm day, and if you drive by the site, which we'll be putting pictures up on the Facebook page, that they have poured the foundation that's in. The underground electrical pieces have been put in place. And it's moving along. It's moving right on schedule. And we're expected to have our ribbon cut and our opening on time. As a matter of fact, on March 20th, we have a meeting that we're going to take our teenagers, our youth, down to visit another facility so they can share ideas and break their welcoming them to come and to see how they put their teen center together. So we'll be going down to take a look at that. So things are moving along. We've gotten lots of interest with persons who want to donate items, which is awesome. We have people who want to donate all different types of items for the facility. So I think that we're on the right path and things are looking really good, and we're getting creative ideas every day. So
Great.
I'm excited about what's coming.
Thank you very much. Councilman Fine, do you have a report?
Yes, Madam Mayor. On February 13th, the Community Development Block Grant Committee met here in Borough Hall and made the following recommendations that the Council will consider for adoption this evening. The CDBG Committee recommended that the $58,567 that Highland Park will be allotted should be allocated as follows. $12,250 to the Teen Youth Program Outreach, $10,765 for Senior Outreach Program, and that's with the Department of Recreation of Arts, and $10,150 for the Summer Camp Program, $7,636 for Senior Transportation, $7,636 for Senior Medical Transportation, $5,000 for Main Street Highland Park's Facade Improvement Program, and $3,000 for our Community Food Pantry, and $2,130 for a new and important community recycling program. The other thing I just wanted to report on is I'm looking forward to a little bit later tonight when Helen Rovner, who sat on the board of trustees of the library as the mayor's alternate, will be hopefully appointed and as a full board member, and that Ronald Wong will also now be on the board of trustees as the mayor's alternate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Kim Chohan?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Senior Center has an upcoming trip to the New Jersey Flower Show at the Convention and Expo Center, Thursday, February 22nd, 12:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. Free transportation to the show is available. Please call the Senior Youth Center for discounted ticket information and to register. In March, we will be hosting a 6-week chronic disease self-management program called Take Control of Your Health. This 6-week class is free and open to all Highland Park residents. The free class will begin on Monday, March 26th, and continue every Monday through April 30th from 12:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Senior Center. Each session will include all materials, healthy shakes, incentives, and a completion certificate at the end of the course. Please stop in or call the center for more detailed information or to register. You can also view the flyer on our Facebook page or the Borough website. The Arts Commission will be hosting a panel discussion of members of the Fluxus art movement who are Highland Park residents on March 29th, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Highland Park Public Library. This will be the first in a series of probably 3 panel discussions on the pop art movement of the 60s. A Zen art and writing workshop is planned for April or May. And the book creating workshop sometime in March or April. And the Arts Commission is currently looking to possibly collaborate again with the New Brunswick Arts Council to apply for a grant regarding a public art project, possibly to do with the bridge that connects the 2 towns. The Recreation Advisory Committee will be meeting this upcoming Monday, February 26th, 7 p.m. at the Senior Youth Center. We currently have a few openings on the committee, so please stop by. And Sunday, I attended the Children's Business Fair at Blank Space Highland Park. The fair featured businesses created by our youth and students. The next fair will take place Sunday, March 18th. Details are on their Facebook page. And thank you, Blank Space, for hosting this fair and helping ignite our youth's entrepreneurial passions. Last but not least, Happy New Year to our community that celebrated this past weekend. And that's my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman, is the chronic disease self-health classes only for seniors?
No, it's open to all. It's free and open to all Highland Park residents.
So, Councilman Hirsch, do you and Councilwoman Kim Chohan want to talk about the possibility of, the grant that we have from the Quality Health people? Maybe there's something, they do want us to do more with chronic diseases. So there may be something that we could do together between your Mayor's Wellness Campaign, those and what they're planning over at the center.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I have a question. What time is that? What day and time?
For the chronic disease?
Yes.
So it will, the first class will begin Monday, March 26th and continue every Monday through April 30th. 12:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Senior Center.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Welkowitz, do you have a report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for opening up the meeting this evening with a moment of silence. From tragedy grows one of the most courageous movements I've seen. Earlier today, hundreds of high school students from West Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, and Hollywood, Florida, walked out of their schools in solidarity with the survivors of Parkland and to keep the pressure on our elected officials to pass common sense gun laws. This administration, which has demonized our teachers and is hell-bent on defunding public education, is the same administration to turn our teachers and school staff into human shields. I've not felt more grateful to our teachers and our school staff. I encourage everyone to speak out, contact your representatives, attend any of the numerous demonstrations being planned until change happens. I'm inspired that our youth, our students, the beneficiaries of America's public education system, have proven to be some of the most intelligent, empathetic, and motivated people I've ever seen. And just very briefly, a couple of upcoming committee meetings. Tomorrow, Wednesday, February 21st, our Main Street Board meeting meets at 6 o'clock, and our Safe Walking and Cycling Committee meets at 7 p.m., both at the Senior Center. On Monday, February 26th, our Zoning Board meets at the Senior Center, and our Planning Board meets next Tuesday, February 27th, here in the Council Chambers. Both meetings are at 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Hirsch, do you have a report?
I do, Mayor. I'm sorry, let me, just a few updates on some ongoing projects. The Board of Health held its regular meeting on February 8th, and we worked toward advancing our 2018 goals, including tobacco prevention, opioid awareness and prevention, and planning for our health fair, which is tentatively set for May. Please stay tuned for more details. The Highland Park Housing Authority held its regular meeting on Wednesday, February 14th, where among the business conducted included a resolution that allows the Housing Authority to submit an application for approval of direct subsidy from the Federal Home Loan Bank in connection with our rental assistance demonstration, or RAD, project at Park Terrace, which is our 24 family homes right across the street here on South 6th. We've been talking about this all year. It's an ongoing and laborious process, but we're getting through it. Again, HUD's rental assistance demonstration program allows our Housing Authority to leverage additional capital from outside investors in order to make necessary capital improvements. The budget for public housing has been shipped away for decades now, but the president's most recent HUD budget proposal is particularly devastating, eliminating the capital fund, reducing Section 8 federal housing subsidies, eliminating the $1.9 billion fund for public housing capital repairs, and you just heard Councilman Fine talk about the $58,000 that was allocated to Highland Park through the Community Development Block Grant. This budget proposal zeroes out community development block grants, and obviously those funds provide vital services to Highland Park. They are certainly not luxuries. So in the respect for our affordable housing, our public housing, we've been fortunate that we've been planning ahead in Highland Park, as we are one of the first public housing authorities in the state to convert its housing into HUD's RAD program. This ensures that our capital needs for our public homes will be addressed while keeping our public homes public with public stewardship and management. The Highland Park Housing Authority will next meet on Wednesday, March 14th, 6:30 p.m. at the Samuel Croman Building at 242 South 6th Avenue. The Commission for Immigrant and Refugee Affairs held its first meeting of 2018 on February 13th, and we had a very productive meeting where we discussed the New Jersey Safe and Responsible Driver Act, which would allow any resident who meets MVC requirements to secure a driver's license regardless of immigration status. This bill has been pre-filed in the legislature, and thanks to lead sponsors Annette Chiano and Reed Gassiora, and our very own Nancy Pinkin, who is among several co-sponsors. We discussed a resolution in support of this bill, and hopefully Council will take that up at its March 6th meeting. We also discussed an executive order that will further ratify policies that we put forth in our Inclusive Communities resolution. It was a great meeting, and we had all of our commissioners there, as well as members of the public, and even a senior from Highland Park High School who's working on immigration advocacy as well. The Commission on Immigrant and Refugee Affairs will host its next meeting on Tuesday, March 13th, 7:30 p.m. in the lower level conference room here at Borough Hall. Please come. In our second installment of the Highland Park Human Relations Commission Book Club, we're partnering with the New Brunswick Area NAACP and the Highland Park Parents of Students of Color to discuss Carol Anderson's White Rage, The Unspoken Truth of Our Racial Divide. White Rage is a National Book Critics Circle Award winner, a New York Times bestseller, a New York Times Notable Book of the Year, a Washington Post Notable Nonfiction Book of the Year, a Boston Globe Best Book of 2016, and a Chicago Review of Books Best Nonfiction Book of 2016. So it is highly regarded. And now we're going to read it through a Highland Park lens. Please join us on Thursday, March 29th at 7 p.m. at the Senior Youth Center to discuss this powerful book that examines obstacles against Black progress in America. We'll be joined by Bill Davis, a professor at Rutgers and branch historian for the New Brunswick area NAACP. The book can be found at the Highland Park Public Library, on Audible, or at your favorite bookseller. The Highland Park Human Relations Commission, I really wanted to say that, I'm sorry. The Highland Park Human Relations Commission will meet tomorrow, February 21st, 7 p.m. in the lower level conference room here at Borough Hall. Please come. If you haven't already, please get your official your Highland Park Municipal ID. You can review the application and get additional information at www.hpborough.com. I'm very pleased to report that the Highland Park branches of Unity Bank and Wells Fargo will now accept the HP ID as a second form of ID for all transactions, including opening a checking account. That's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Council President, do you have a report?
I do, Mayor. Thank you. First of all, to our residents who celebrated the Year of the Dog, Shiin Nan Kwailu, and also in Black History Month, just a reminder that the Newark Museum has two presentations which Highland Park residents might find interesting. The first is a planetarium presentation on African skywatchers, 4,000 years of history of how astronomy played into their culture, their religion, their migrations, and their agriculture. The second is a reopening of their Arts of Global Africa presentation, some of which has been locked away while they redid the museum over the last few years. For veterans, remind everybody the New Jersey connection for the Tuskegee Airmen. Everybody thinks it was a big issue in the South. The Millville Airport was the staging area for their beginning training in the P-47 Thunderbolts when they were first brought out. And if you take a tour there, which is at the airport, which is near the racetrack, you'll actually see a P-47 on display, which is marked in Tuskegee Airmen's markings. Sustainable Highland Park recently met. Their plastic bag reduction program is continuing. They reported that the first weekly drawing for a $25 prize offered by Stop and Shop for people who say, no, put the plastic back, I have my own bag, or give me one of the recyclables, was awarded last week. 600 people did that and entered into the drawing. That is a lot of people. That's almost as many people as we gave away free bags. Second, they recently had their planning focus meeting, which was just devoted to coming up with plans for the year and we discussed doing 2 and 5 year plans as well, in case some programs can grow. They're having their Earth Day celebration in the Environmental Center. The date is set for April 22nd. The vendors are lining up. Last year was a big event, and the theme is water. And here's an interesting thing that Councilwoman Kim is aware of, that their members there are proposing to the Arts Commission and the Arts Collective, the informal artists group, that they come up with a series of posters for the program with the theme of water, and then be able to offer those posters for sale as well as for advertising, to have them on display, and then possibly cycle that back into a planned environmental arts exhibit at the Art Center, which is planned for May or June. The next meeting is tomorrow night at 7:30 at the Environmental Center. The Shade Tree Advisory Committee is getting busy as the season warms up. This year they're authorized to plant 47 new trees. They're taking applications for planting a street tree at your location if you like. The applications are available on the Borough website. Email Mayor of Stack, email me, or see them on the street. They're actually carrying the applications around with them in person. Highland Park was designated as one of the first tree cities in New Jersey under the state program. Stack recently resubmitted its Tree City application and also its annual report to the Tree City program. We had a presentation at the last meeting last week by a Highland Park resident who's also an expert at Rutgers and consults with the state on the emerald ash borer program, similar to the chestnut blight of the late 19th century that destroyed all the chestnut trees in the United States. The emerald ash borer has been working its way north for the last 30 years and has unfortunately been sighted in South Jersey. And the warning is that Highland Park has a problem. What is the issue? The issue is that the trees have to be destroyed or treated ungodly expensively for the life of the tree, so that it is a major significant problem. We've reached out to the county to try and coordinate with their efforts. We've done an inventory. The Shade Tree Committee did an inventory of trees, which includes 400 ash trees on county property and 73 on our property. So that's something that we're monitoring carefully and will be bringing to council shortly. With regard to the Environmental Commission, the Environmental Commission volunteers, members, along with the Meadow Trails volunteers, recently put together an environmental assessment letter for the borough with relation to all of the assets, all of the concerns, the DEP designation as a riparian way for our upper meadows, so that we're aware of all the activities there. The beehive fencing has been erected, and as you recall, we passed a resolution 2 meetings ago for proposing the state's regulations, which was well put together by the volunteers at the Environmental Commission. It appears as of today on the state register that the regulations that have not gone into place, and there was a tiny little blurb on an information page on the Environmental Commission that says that new regulations are being proposed, and the date posting is after the due date, so it looks like those efforts actually worked. The Native Meadows Trail volunteers, Native Plant Reserve volunteers are coming off their winter furloughs. They'll be looking for volunteers starting in March. And finally, an interesting program with the Eagle Scout project, which is a project for you to make your Eagle Scout, you have to do community service. Works with as a liaison on the Environmental Commission. I happened to be down disposing of electronics and noticed a pile of old park benches that we used to have on the streets in Highland Park. And the Eagle Scouts are interested in rehabbing those for the borough and putting them back on the streets or in the parks. So we're working on that. With regard to DPW, the warmer weather let some of the ground defrost, so we started our pothole survey and patching a little bit early. So who knows? Since it's late spring weather today, but we'll probably turn freezing again. Hopefully we can keep that program going. The new RTV machine is up and running. Unfortunately, the superintendent, Don Risch, and I were hoping that we actually had a lot of snow this weekend so we could actually drive it around and check it on the bridge to see if we can save the approximately 6 man-hours on clearing the bridge and reduce it to less than 1 man-hour. Just remind everybody it's a little bit early, but I know that people tend to ignore bulk trash pickup until it's too late and then scurry around trying to throw stuff away. The north side in Triangle bulk trash, the next one is April 4th, and the south side is April 11th. And finally, because of the weird weather during the fall, we'll be doing a little bit more leaf pickup now that the ground is defrosted and the lawns are clear. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Borough Administrator, do you have a report?
Nothing major, just wanted to say thank you to all the council members and the volunteers from the various boards, committees, and commissions that came out to our meeting last week. Basically, hopefully it'll become an annual, if not a biannual, tradition to bring all the groups together to share projects and to hopefully collaborate a little bit more on projects moving forward. Thought it was a great turnout, and we want to keep that momentum going. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I have a report. Oh, I'm sorry, Borough Attorney.
No report.
Okay. So it's February, and in honor of being Black History Month and American Heart Month, I'd like to share a little American history with you tonight. Otis Boykin, 1920 to 1982. What did he do? He invented the artificial heart pacemaker control unit. And why this is important is that although there were variations to the pacemaker before Boykin's invention, the modern-day pacemaker would not exist without his work. So, as we enter the last week of American Heart Month and Black History Month, let's remember Dr. Otis Boykin and his contributions to our heart health. And speaking of heart health, we had our third Move with the Mayor stretch and yoga session today. It is a free class, and it's offered through a grant from the Aetna Healthcare organization made possible to Highland Park by the New Jersey Quality Healthcare Institute. The class is every Monday at noon at Kinetics Flow on the Avenue, and if you join us on your lunch break, know that there are private changing rooms available on site. We all know that walking is healthier than driving. However, it isn't always feasible or practical to walk to our destinations. So repairing our roads takes a top priority here in Highland Park. I want you to know that in 2017, there were a total of 14 roads throughout the municipality repaired. And in 2018, so far, we've identified 8 roads to be repaired. I want you to also know that those road repairs are being made possible by a Transportation Trust Fund grant. I just got word from the governor's office that this year Highland Park has been granted $325,000, and I believe we will be repairing Maryland Avenue and South 7th Avenue with those funds. And speaking of the state of New Jersey, I had the privilege to join other mayors from Middlesex County last week at a round table with Governor Murphy. We discussed many of the issues facing all of us, such as tax reform, energy tax rebates, and also issues specific to each of our municipalities. I appreciate Governor Murphy's candor regarding the dire financial situation our state is in. And despite that, he clearly wanted to hear from us in local government about our specific needs. We're lucky to have a governor who is interested in frank and open conversation and in finding creative ways for us all to move forward. And on that note, let's move forward with our meeting agenda. Is there any public discussion?
Abby Stern Cardinal, and I live on Harper Street. I have a few things, questions and comments, because I don't know when I'll make it here next.
Can't hear you.
Okay.
You have to speak really closely.
Okay, I don't want to get too close.
I know.
I don't know about germs, so sorry. I'm not putting my mouth against that. So first I wanted to say, I watched the last meeting, and there were some concerns, and I think the chief also addressed the concerns about the burglaries in town. And I just wanted to say from maybe a different perspective that I understand people's concerns, and I know that it's scary. I got a little freaked out as well, but I think sometimes these concerns get amplified, and it's really good that I appreciate hearing the numbers and hearing that it's not actually necessarily out of the normal fluctuation. I think, it's fine to say call the authorities if you see something suspicious, but suspicious is a subjective word. Sorry, I haven't completely composed my thoughts. The danger that we have with the Neighborhood Watch program is that people start to report their neighbors, especially people who look different than themselves. We've seen this happen before, and I think it's an especially big danger in this political climate with what's going on. We don't want that in our community. Therefore, I personally think a Neighborhood Watch program can be quite dangerous, and we need to be cautious before we go forward with something like this and not just jump into it. I appreciate the comments about calling if you see something suspicious, but again, that word I could think something's suspicious and it's just my neighbor walking down the street, but I haven't seen them before. So that's one comment I wanted to make. And then I have a question about today's resolutions. There are a couple about dissolving the redevelopment agency, and I just wanted to know a little bit more about this and how this might affect things moving forward and how it came to be. I don't know if I missed something on that.
Okay, so I can fill you in, and Council, or unless Woman Welkowitz, would you like to?
Sure.
It is her area.
Thanks. I was going to say something when we got to the topic. This is part of actually a years-long change in some of the ways that we're working with developers. And we hired a new borough planner at the beginning of 2017, Mr. Jim Constantine. And we formed a new advisory committee. At the end of 2016, we changed the designation of the entire town to be an area in need of rehabilitation, opening up, again, to more development opportunities. Then we formed a screening committee, which is an advisory board made up of members of the Planning Board, the Zoning Board, the Redevelopment Agency, and Main Street, our borough administrator, myself. And we meet when a developer is ready to talk to us. Our borough planner's there as well. And it's allowing us to have a sort of safe space to have a conversation with the developer, more clearly explain to them what our vision is, what our desire is, and maybe for each block we might have something different in mind. So to date, we have one signed contract for the international market, which is the first one since we created the redevelopment agreement 12 years ago. And we have another one in the works as well. So we're open for business. This dissolution of the agency, we're finding what will be happening is the borough council will be taking over these responsibilities along with working with the borough planner. So the screening committee would provide recommendation to the borough council on existing projects, and then the council will meet and review the project. So we hope to make it a little more efficient, gain more control, and just be able to approve more of what we want and what we need in our town. Because the redevelopment agency process has sort of, it can be very rigid. And we found that we were maybe in the past thinking of or maybe even approving things that we just didn't love. So we're trying to get more of that in that direction.
So if I could add to that, what was happening, we're a small municipality. We don't get a lot of big projects in like New Brunswick does. And there were costs associated with having a separate redevelopment agency that we just felt didn't make sense anymore. And so by taking the responsibility into to the Borough Council, where we eventually have to approve plans anyway, it will save the municipality some costs, and it will help streamline the process. I don't know, Borough Administrator, do you have anything you want to add?
I think that's pretty good. I don't know, Abby, if you have any follow-up.
No, I just was curious. I, didn't know what the plan was, and
we're not getting rid of redevelopment.
Well, I knew that was one of your goals, so I figured there was. Yeah.
And I do have to tell you that the two projects that the councilwoman referred to came out of the redevelopment agency. It's not like they weren't working or not doing their job. We're very appreciative of everything that they've done, and in fact, every member we're trying to keep involved in some way.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious.
And some will remain on the screening committee as well. So
I had one other question, I suppose, more than a comment. So I hope to continue to come to these, but I don't know if I'll be able to attend in person for a while. So I was thinking about, the first comment I made and how I can, continue to contribute more remotely. And I think I had brought up once before how to make a public comment or a comment without being here, and I was told that I could do something under report a concern on the website. And I know that obviously we're not making any changes to the website right now, but I'm wondering how someone could give a comment on a resolution or, say something, like I said, without being here. Is there a best way to email, or is there something at the time that we can do?
So you can always feel free to email either my office or the Borough Clerk's office. Probably better going to you, right?
We've never entertained that before, so I'm going to defer to the gentleman there.
Oh, Borough Attorney.
I'm deferring to him because we've never experienced that.
And neither have I, and I will tell you that typically the reason that you publicly advertise is to have a comment entered into the record and for your consideration. If you wanted to read something into the record for everybody to consider before there's a vote, I don't think there's anything that's a violation of that. It just might be opening up it might become a little bit unwieldy, at some point. But
yeah, I mean, obviously there's various things. I'm not asking for if there isn't something established. I'm not saying
right. So we have been talking about other vehicles that we could use to communicate better, either during a council meeting or through some alternative sites that we've been approached by some teams that are developing sites where an elected official can put a proposal out there, and then people can weigh in on it. Mm-hmm. And so between that and other social media things we might be able to use in the future, we are talking about some things going forward. But to your point, Borough Attorney, I think we have to really look at it carefully so that we don't cross any legal lines, and also don't make the meetings unwieldy, where people who are coming here don't get a chance to talk because we're reading off other people's questions.
Okay, that makes sense. I just, was thinking about me not being able to attend, and then I was thinking some people might work every Tuesday at, 6 to 8, so they can never attend. So it's just something to maybe consider for the future, but I definitely understand that you can't read 100 comments at every meeting, so.
Right.
Mayor, may I just wanted to respond to that. Is that I've seen other towns, and I believe our school board does it as well, where they will actually enter in correspondence into the agenda, and it's acknowledged actually. So any email that comes in is acknowledged on the meeting agenda. So that may be something to consider. So if you want your
Do they read it?
Do they what?
Do they
don't read it. No. But it's listed. All correspondence is listed on the agenda, and it's entered into the actual minutes. And I just wanted to echo your concerns about the neighborhood watch. I think several of us on council have deep reservations of doing any such thing. So that's for all the reasons that you've stated. Our police do an excellent job, and I think our community is a community of trust. And creating an environment where our neighbors are looking after one another instead of looking at one another is really important. So, I don't see a lot of support for neighborhood watches.
But the format for that discussion is really the Public Safety Committee, which I believe is going to be discussing that.
Just because it had been brought up at a previous meeting is why I wanted to say something. And then I also, just to add on one little thing, it's really important that our police have been given sensitivity training, and that's a really critical thing that we have in our community. So that sensitivity training is critical of why, when we're reporting to police, they also understand that there's dynamics at play. So, okay, I'll stop taking.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment at this time? Okay, seeing none. Clerk, could you report on introduction of an ordinance for dissolution of the Highland Park Redevelopment Agency for consideration of passage on first reading by title?
An ordinance of the Borough of Highland Park, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, dissolving the Borough of Highland Park Redevelopment Agency pursuant to NJSA 40A 12A-24 and NJSA 40A 5A-20 has been introduced in writing by the Economic Development and Planning Committee for consideration of passage on first reading by title.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt or reject and advertise the ordinance on first reading by title?
Motion to adopt?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
It's a new day, yes. Congratulations to Councilwoman Welkowitz and the mayor and everybody who worked on this. It's exciting.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
I just want to reiterate what the mayor said. In no ways is a reflection of the commitment that the people that served on our redevelopment agency, they are all extremely valuable in our community with great talent, and we look forward to working with all of them on a continued basis. But again, we're just restructuring, and yes.
Thank you. Okay, may I have a resolution to approve, may I have a motion to approve, adopt or reject the resolution to approve the budget transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Okay. May I have a motion to adopt items number on the consent agenda, items number 13 through 18?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
All right. Tonight I am appointing the following to H.P. Gives a Hoot: Michael Buckman, Sylvia Hove, Eva Love, Evelyn Sedahi, James Polos, Marilyn Pruce, Monica Jackson, Joyce Orenstein. I am appointing to the Public Information Committee Chaim Cohen and Valerie Weidman. I am appointing to the Library Board of Trustees Helen Ravner and Ronald Wong as my mayor's alternate. And I am appointing to the Council on Aging Angela Perrone. May I have a motion to confirm?
Excuse me, I have a different copy here.
It says Lieutenant Bellicello.
Well, I had to update the names for
That's
HB
fine.
Gives a Hoot
I
based
just
on the
wanted-
chairperson.
As long as whatever she said is the correct one.
Yeah. She has the correct one.
Okay. May I have a motion to confirm?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
Do we have the name of the firefighter?
Yeah, I report on it.
Oh, okay. Clerk, can you please report on the election of a volunteer firefighter?
I received notification from the Highland Park Volunteer Fire Department of the election of Ishmael Zubaru to the roles of the Volunteer Fire Department.
All right. May I have a motion to confirm?
Motion?
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilman Fine?
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster Dublin?
Yes.
Councilman George?
Yes.
Councilman Hirsch?
Yes.
Councilwoman Kim Chohan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Welkowitz?
Yes.
And also, I would just like to add that we are desperately in need of additional volunteers for our fire department. So anyone who's interested in volunteering, please call our fire department or stop in and see them.
Thank you. Okay, second public discussion. Anybody have anything?
Ruth Pickard, 307 Magnolia. Number one, I received a letter in the mail last week from American Water Resources trying to convince me that it was in my best interest for them to come out and replace or check or repair my water line. I had no the point is, I wasn't looking for anybody. I had my water line replaced twice in the 20-some odd years that we've owned the property. paid a lot of money each time for it, and thank God it's, other than that, the cold water comes freezing cold rather than warm if it's deep in the. So I came to see the person in charge of the water department. How do they get my name? Oh, and they mentioned in the fact that I had had the problem before. And she said, this is public record. How can a stranger come to the borough and say, tell me who in the last 10, 15, 20, whatever time frame had water lines repaired? I'm looking for your answers. I see some faces.
Borough Attorney, can you?
Yeah, your name and address associated with the property is a matter of public record.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Your name and address is a matter of public record and the tax records. They're public records, so if somebody can come and obtain that information. In fact, it's online. To be honest with you, you don't even have to leave a computer. You can type an address in, and the name will come up. Your lot and block, what the property's assessed, what you're paying the taxes. So you don't have, unfortunately, in today's day and age, you don't have the privacy that you think you have, and there's nothing surreptitious about somebody knowing your name and address. There's just not, unfortunately.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm glad
I
I'm
could-
old enough to know that I'm never going to own property again, because I think that's disgusting.
Yeah,
That's the only word I can think to
Yeah.
describe that.
yeah.
Okay, that's number one. Street lights at the crosswalks, at the intersections of blocks, like on my street on Magnolia and 3rd, there used to be a street light. I don't know what happened to it, but it isn't there anymore, and it's dark. And the part, Magnolia Street going through that crosswalk is in total disrepair, and one has to be very, very careful. I've seen children fall. I have tripped. Up to the cross part on 3rd Avenue, the roads have been repaved and smoothed, but I don't know why they never did that part. They got the same nonsense now on 4th where they repaired. I spoke to the police officer who was watching there. I said, you ought to report this. It's dangerous. There was a woman who tripped, and he caught her, prevented her from falling.
So let me understand. So you're saying part of the street is paved and then there's like a ridge or something?
Yeah. It's bumps and holes.
Yes, I know the location.
And I've spoken about it on more than one occasion, because I know the sidewalk was not repaired by a property, and I knew that there was a problem, but I miscalculated. I tripped. I broke my toe. I'm sorry that I didn't go to court and sue the people, because I've paid for that pain all these years because the toe was broken. Now
So-
it was because the house was sold. They fixed the sidewalk.
So, Mrs. Bickard, I'm going to ask Councilman George to talk to what he knows about the streets.
Yes, Ms. Bickard. In fact, I saw you at the corner on Saturday, I think, when I was going by at the same location at Magnolia. That particular location by the crosswalk that goes across on the south side of 3rd at the intersection with Magnolia, they did some excavation some time ago, and it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that patch has settled. I did go over, as I indicated in my report, I did meet on my regular meeting with Public Works where we discussed pothole repair and the possibility of starting early this year with the weather break, and that is one of the areas that I asked them to look at, is the crosswalk there. I'm familiar with it because I go food shopping on my bicycle when the weather's nice, and I always hit that horrible spot. It needs attention, so we will be looking at that. It may just be a pothole patch for right now until that stretch of road gets on the road repair system, but understand, we'll try and do what we can with it.
Then add 4th Avenue too, because the same thing is developing.
We'll
there.
take a look at that, but we're going to go one at a time, and we'll look at 3rd.
Okay. Some of the crossings, the street lights are working. Who does one bring to whom does one bring attention that the lights are out at 3rd and Magnolia?
So you're talking about not the traffic lights, you're talking about the street lights?
Yes.
Lights, regular street lights.
Yeah. It's dark. And
Yeah.
the side-
So
I'm not sure if it's me or it's you.
So it's the responsibility of PSE&G, but who's going to let them know?
Well, this has come up in the past, and I did do a little, we pay a lease, so we're paying for those lights even when they're not working, which frustrates me. So we need to figure out a mechanism, and I don't know which committee that would go through, but certainly we
If
can
you give
start
me your phone
submitting
number,
to
I'll
them.
call you and tell you if it's out.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually contemplating, I was talking to our borough engineer about this a number of months ago, and he said maybe we do kind of an online survey or forum that people can, because it's hard for us to just, because, I'm not here at night, working at night,
Maybe we can put it under public safety, and we can see if we can get some kind of survey done. And the chief is waving at me saying,
We actually have a practice in place.
Right.
If there's a light out, people should call and report it in case my patrol don't see it. We have a fax that we fax to the public service with the poll number, and they make repairs. I don't know how long it takes, but that is a mechanism that's been in place. It seems to work. The problem is we can only call in what we know about. So if it's indeed 3rd and where's
Magnolia.
write that one down.
3rd and Magnolia.
But anyone listening out there, if there's
You
any,
need to speak into the microphone.
I'll say it again for you, Chief. So, if anyone see where the street lights are, the regular street lights that they are out, please call the police department and notify them. They will call it into PSE&G and have that taken care of. So if anywhere in town where you see street lights are out, call it into the police department, and they have a mechanism to get that information to PSE&G so they can address the problem.
But please include the pole number, because you can say an intersection, but they won't know exactly which pole is out. So
Okay.
each pole has a number on it. So if you can jot
So if
that
you can
down, please.
remember, if you can see the pole number, please include the pole number. If not, just give us the name of the intersections. Thank you.
Good. Wish I had known. I would have called a couple of weeks ago.
The chief got your information there.
Good, that's good. Yeah, what are you going to do about sidewalk repairs that weren't repaired last year? And I know on a couple of places, the property owners had been notified, but
If you're saying that property owners were notified and nothing was done, we'll talk to our code enforcement office.
then what?
Code enforcement office. If you're saying that some property owners were notified, but nothing was done, we can notify our code enforcement office.
And what are you going to do about the microphone here? I can hear you beautifully on the television at home,
Yeah.
but I can't hear you when you're talking in here.
So we have discussed the audio system here for a couple of meetings already, and we'll take a look and see what we can do within our
I hire
budgets.
my electrician and have him come and check them out. I'm that serious.
No, I hear you.
Mayor, we at the beginning of every meeting, Councilwoman Kim Chohan just brought this up, that we do offer assisted listening devices, correct?
Yes, we do. There are. Are you making a joke,
Ironic.
Mrs. Bickard? No, Mrs. Bickard. There's assistive listening devices available. If you.
That's what I need. I'm not hearing it.
Oh, okay. She has a hearing aid. Okay. Thank you. Any other public comment? No? Okay, seeing none. May I have a motion to adjourn to conference?
So moved.
Second.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.